Hello everybody, this is GeneralJannis, and in today's Death Card Tactics I will be talking about mission-specific secondary objectives. So this is a continuation of my review of the standard secondary objectives, but looking at the mission-specific. So with no further ado, let's go to it. So the mission-specific secondaries are apart from the standard secondary objectives included in the core rules. Each mission in the core book comes with an additional mission-specific secondary that can be selected as one of the three secondaries we need to choose for matched play. In this video, I will be reviewing the six mission-specific secondaries for strike force size battles, so 1,000 to 2,000 points, or up to 2,000 points, let's say. So are they worth considering, and how do they fit with Death Card armies? Let's start with mission number 1, which is the Retrieval mission. The secondary is called Minimize Losses, and in this one you count the number of units in your starting army, and this is your army strength. At the end of battle, compare your army strength with the start. If you have above 75% of your starting strength, for example, if you started with 10 units and now you only have 8, you would score 15 victory points. If you have between 50 and 75% of your starting army, you would get 10 victory points. If you have 25 to 50%, you would get 5 victory points. So this secondary has the potential to score you the maximum 15 victory points. However, I believe it's quite a big chance to lose at least a quarter of your army in the course of a whole battle. 10 victory points would be okay, but I guess that if you lose even more, then of course 5 victory points is not a very good outcome for a secondary objective. The Death Card Resilience would be a good match for this one, and could have a synergy, for example, with the While We Stand We Fight secondary, which requires you to keep your 3 highest strength, highest cost models at the end of the battle. But it depends though on the actual list. If you have a lot of, for example, small Poxwalker units to keep backfield objectives, those are quite liable in this respect for this secondary. And it depends on your opponent army. If you have some very hard shooting enemies that can take out a lot of your units. So I think this one is worth considering. For my personal playstyle, it's not a good match because I don't mind personally taking heavy losses for my units as long as I apply even heavier losses on my opponent. But this one, I'm not very good at just keeping my army alive at all costs. I would rather get a field presence and try to inflict damage than only take, let's say, more taking care of my units. So I guess it depends a little bit on your specific playstyle. If we go to mission 2, it's called Frontline Warfare, and the secondary is called Vital Ground. And this is the secondary gives you the following points. At the end of each of your command phases, not the first turn, you score 3 victory points if you control the opponent's deployment zone objective marker, and 2 victory points each for the other objective markers in the middle of the table. So I think this one is really good. This gives the potential to score good points and has a very direct synergy with the primary objectives, which you will be still trying to take these objectives in any case. So you would in any case be aiming to at least control 1 or 2 of these objectives. So in 4 turns, if you can hold let's say 1 of this for the 4 turns and maybe take this for the half of the turns, you would still be scoring 12 victory points. So I think this is, in my opinion, worth taking, and it's scored at the same time as the primaries. So if you are doing the effort to hold these objectives, you would just get more points. And I think this one is worth taking also for Death Card, which is quite good when being in an objective, you are difficult to move away from this objective. Mission number 3 is called the 4 Pillars, and the secondary is Siphon Power. And this requires you to perform a special action or several special actions at the end of your movement phase and you have to be close to a different objective to make this special action. This is completed at the end of the next command phase, and every time the actions are completed successfully, you score if you only do the siphon power 1, you get 1 victory point. If you do it for 2 objectives, 3 victory points, 3 give 6 and 4 give 10. So on paper it sounds like you can get quite a lot of points per turn if you do it, but in practice, to be on 4 objectives and do 4 actions with, and then locking your units to not do anything else, and then your opponent also has his turn to fight you back and maybe kill one of the units, making or charge them or do something. So I think there is a lot of disadvantages for this one. So it's a difficult action to perform. The opponent has a whole turn to react, and yeah, you lock some of your valuable units to not do anything else. And I think it's low points payout for a typical, if you, let's say, control on average, let's say 2 objectives, you would be getting 3 victory points, but then you still have 2 units that could do something else that they didn't. So in my opinion, this one is a bit too high risk, too little gain, and needing quite a lot of, you need quite a lot of special actions for this to succeed. So this one I would not personally take. Mission 4 is called No Man's Land. The secondary is called Secure No Man's Land. And at the end of each of your turn, if you control the center objective, you score victory points equal to the battle round. So 1 in the first turn, 3 in the third turn, 5 in the fifth turn, etc. So if you control this at at the end of each of your turns, you can get 15 victory points. The good thing is that you score this objective at the end of your turn rather than your command phase. So this gives you the opportunity, for example, to charge, kill something, take the objective, and then your opponent cannot take these victory points or this objective from you. If they do, then you have again your own turn to recapture the center. This it gives you good synergies with other objectives targeting the center. For example, investigate sites and psychic ritual. And if you combine, for example, these two with the secure no man's land, going after the center very aggressively, you could score a bunch of victory points. I think it should be a good fit for Death Guard, as you can probably just focus on this objective, or maybe some more. But here I think it's a good god match for Death Guard, so I assume this is definitely worth taking. Mission number 5 is called Scorched Earth. The secondary is Raise, and at the end of the battle you score 5 victory points if you raised one of your opponent's objective markers, or 15 points if you raised both. And the raise action is quite difficult to do. So in the start of your movement phase, if you are in range of this objective and no enemy units are in range of this objective, and then the action is completed at the end of your turn. But because you have to start the action at the start of your movement, you have to be there and secure it from the time before, and your opponent would the only thing he needs on his turn is just to move a unit close to this objective, and then you wouldn't be able to start the action. So difficult to do action, as I said. There are potential synergies if you really go for controlling the other player's deployment zone. For example, Line Breaker and Repair Teleport Homer, but you really need to go full, commit all in to do this. And I think the Death Guard mobility is a factor to consider, and here we would need a lot of deep strikes to be able to do these raise actions and this. And I think, in my opinion, it's a bit too risky and too difficult to pull through. If you only do one, then 5 victory points is very underwhelming. And finally, mission number 6, it's called Vital Intelligence, and the secondary is called Data Intercept. One unit can perform the Data Intercept action at end of movement, and the action is completed at your next command phase. And you score victory points when it's completed successfully, equal to the objectives you control. I think this one has a very good potential because there are many objective markers on this map, and these additionally have the rules that they are controlled even if your units have been there, and then if they move away, you're still controlling the objective. So here you could have one infantry, a bit cheaper infantry in your backfield doing this action, and then every time you would be maybe scoring 2 or 3 times, every 2 or 3 victory points every time this is completed. So it requires only one action from one group to score you points, and you would in any case be trying to get some of these objectives. So I think this has a good synergy with the primaries. Maybe you can combine it with raise banners and keep even more, let's say, get more points for the flags or the objectives you control. So I think this is definitely worth taking. The only thing is if your opponent has aircraft, maybe can fly and kill your infantry, but I hope I guess you need to protect it a little bit, this infantry unit doing the action, but otherwise you should be able to score some decent points here. So summary and final thoughts. I've just tried to summarize on this table the different strike force missions. So I think that we have, at least for mission 2, 4, and 6, I think those secondaries are quite good to consider. I think the 4 pillars one is the lowest I would consider. Raise, I also think is quite difficult, and some minimized losses could be worth taking if it suits your personal playstyle, which it doesn't doesn't do for me at least. So, what are your thoughts on mission specific secondaries? Do you have some experience, or you can leave a comment if you have some remarks and comments. This concludes my video. If you like this video, you can please press like, you can leave a comment, and please subscribe to my channel, where I will be putting more videos on death card tactics. So with these words, GeneralJannis is signing out, and stay safe out there. Bye bye.